everyone. Welcome back to the Broncos Podcast Network and YouTube for the latest episode of Broncos Now. As always, I'm your host, Sydney Jones. And coming up on today's episode, the Broncos hit the road tomorrow to head to Houston. We'll hear from head coach Sean Payton. Plus, Broncos lead writer Eric Dalala joins the show for a game preview. All that and more coming up. The Denver Broncos hit the road to head down to Houston tomorrow as they're set to face the Texans on Sunday. Head coach Sean Payton spoke for the final time ahead of this matchup today and talked about the meaning of this game.
Look, both teams are 6-5. Both teams are in the AFC, but you got to prepare to play a game. You got to prepare to play your best game, and the further we play and the longer we get into the end of the season, each week will present scenarios. But it's a good team. It's a team that has played well this year, and they're playing with confidence.
Head coach Sean Payton said earlier this year that the best teams are player-led teams, and he spoke on that today and how he sees that in this locker room. When
you get going, it's their team. We're all a part of it, but this season, the players begin to hold each other accountable. They begin to play for each other. That's one of the great traits that you see is when they don't want to let each other down in their play, and I think that's a really good trait for any team to have.
Plus, he talked about what the keys will be for this offense in Houston on Sunday.
The early down efficiency is important. I think this is a team that, it's a penetrating one-gap defense. They play hard. They play fast to the ball. You can see it on tape. You can see D'Amico's. You could just feel the energy that they play with, and that's a result of their coaching and the talent that they have. Sheldon Rankins, he was a first-round pick of ours in New Orleans, and they have a number of good players. So I think being good on early downs is important. I mean, there's a handful of keys, but it is a team that if they get you behind the chains in long yardage situations, it becomes more and more problematic.
Now it's time to take a look at this week's final injury report. Cornerback Damari Mathis did not participate in today's practice, and he is listed as questionable for Sunday's game. And outside linebacker Baron Browning, wide receiver Jerry Jeudy, kicker Will Lutz, tight end Chris Manhertz, wide receiver Marvin Mims Jr., and defensive tackle Mike Purcell were all full participants. Now joining me here inside the Broncos podcast studio for a game preview is Broncos lead writer Eric Dalala. Eric, thanks for joining me today.
You got it, Sid.
Per usual on this Friday.
Another big one.
This is a big one, Eric. A big AFC game here and the start of a 3-game road stretch, too. So a lot coming up.
Yeah, it's a critical moment in this season, a defining stretch, you could say, of the Broncos 2023 season. Yeah. But important to take it one at a time and focus on a big game against a dangerous, a talented, and a confident Houston Texans team.
Yeah. Eric, looking at the defense first, they lead the league in takeaways. They're allowing the third fewest points per game right now. We've talked a lot about Houston's quarterback, C.J. Stroud, this week. What do you expect for this defense? How do you expect them to fare going up against him on Sunday?
Yeah, he's good. I mean, he's a rookie, but he doesn't play like a rookie. Mm-hmm. And I think there's two things. One, his ability to extend plays and then get the ball down the field. Tank Dell, obviously, kind of the major target there. I believe they have the second most receiving yards between a rookie quarterback and rookie receiver in NFL history. And so they're playing at a very high level. So that's one element is it's going to be one of those games where you face kind of a Mahomes-esque, Josh Allen-esque player in terms of wanting to extend plays and look to throw. Right. Vance Joseph said this week he will scramble, but he's not really looking to scramble. He's looking to extend plays and throw the ball down the field, keeps his eyes down there. So that's one thing this defense is going to have to deal with. And then I think the other thing that's very impressive about C.J. Stroud is he shakes mistakes off well and he plays well in the biggest moments. Mm-hmm. You look back to the game against Cincinnati, he throws a pick six, comes back and leads a game-winning drive. You think about this past game against the Jaguars, the Texans didn't ultimately win, but they're down 10 points late in the fourth quarter, leads a touchdown drive, they get the ball back, and he gives them at least a chance to win that football game and one or two throws away from probably getting another win and putting them into first place in the AFC South. So he's a guy that even if you're up 10 points, 14 points late in this game, I don't think you can't let your guard down. You can't rest because he's still coming after you. Now, what I will say is I think the Broncos defense matches up well in terms of what the Texans do well. They throw the ball a lot. They're looking to throw the football. Not everything's deep down the field. They do have these intermediate completions. They'll get the ball to Singletary out of the backfield and let him kind of take things on. But, they're looking to throw the football. And when I look at this Broncos defense, I see that pass defense as one of the strengths with Justin Simmons, Pat Surtain, Fabian Moreau's playing really well. Jaquan McMillan is playing really well. And then, it also gives guys a chance to rush the passer, whether it's Baron Browning, Nick Bonito, Jonathan Cooper. So I think that matches up well. And obviously where the Broncos have struggled a little bit is in the run game. And the Houston Texans are not, at least right now, one of the top run teams in the NFL. It doesn't mean they can't prioritize that. And certainly the Vikings found some success on the ground when they didn't come in as a top rushing team. But this is a team that I think prioritizes throwing the football. And it seems to me like this could be strength on strength and really give the best part of the Broncos defense a chance to face off against the best of the Texans offense. It'll be a good one when CJ Stroud and them are on the field.
Yeah, definitely. Eric, you mentioned Tank Dell. It seems like him and CJ Stroud, they've had a special connection this year, have a special chemistry, but he was listed as questionable heading into Sunday's game. And Houston's going to be without tight end Dalton Schultz too. So CJ might be without two of his best pass catchers. Yeah,
and it's possible. I think Noah Brown is also questionable, a good player as well. It'll be interesting to see. Obviously, D'Amico Ryans said earlier this week he expects Tank Dell to play, but it'll be something to monitor. Obviously, without him, it will change some things for that offense. Their offensive line is a little bit beat up, so certainly they faced some injuries here recently, but they also ruled out a bunch of guys a few weeks ago when they went to Cincinnati, and they still won that football game. So CJ Stroud right now is elevating everybody around him. I don't think it really matters who's out there. He's gonna find weapons. He's gonna make plays. But Tank Dell's a good football player. We were talking to Jerry Jeudy today. He said he watched him before he came to the league and is not surprised that he's had this early success. He's a good football player, certainly in the red zone. I believe he has the most touchdowns among rookie receivers. So he's playing well. He's a threat. It'll be interesting to see.
Fast.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how do the Broncos deal with his speed versus covering some of these other guys. It's going to take a good plan from Vance Joseph. But we've seen this defense do it over the last few weeks, right? And
absolutely.
So should be a good matchup.
Yeah. On the other side of the ball for the Texans, Eric, what do you know about D'Amico Ryans' defenses? I know Russ historically has played well against them.
Yeah, only played 3 times against D'Amico, and obviously against the Niners last year is a little bit of a struggle, but the Broncos did have that big game-winning drive. In Seattle in 2021 when he faced off against D'Amico twice. The Seahawks won both of those games. Russ, I believe, had 5 total touchdowns, just 1 turnover, a completion percentage of over 75%, and a high passer rating, I believe, over 100. So he did find some success there. I believe the Seahawks scored in the upper 20s both times. So found some success against that defense. Now, it's not going to be easy, and I think what the Broncos do well is run the football and kind of dominate time of possession, try to out-physical you. The Texans are good against the run, and so the Broncos will have to be committed to that. If there's an opportunity in terms of where to find some yardage, where to make some plays, it might be down the field. The Texans' passing defense is not ranked quite as high. They are healthier this week, it seems, than they have been in quite a long time, but they commit the second most pass interference penalties. And so it may be a chance for Russ to look down the field, maybe find Cortland Sutton, Jerry Jeudy, Marvin Mims, one of those guys, and make a big chunk play. But I don't think you want to get too far away from your identity. And, we'll have to see. Obviously, I think one of the great things about a Sean Payton offense is it can change week to week. But I would still think the Broncos would emphasize running the football, play action, that sort of thing, and not just come out and throw it 50 times, but I guess we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. Cortland has scored a touchdown in every single one of the team's road games this year, Eric. So
that's a good stat.
Yeah, hopefully you'll find the end zone again on Sunday. I know there's been a lot of talk this week just about continuing red zone efficiency. I know they were good in that category last week against the Browns. So how do you hope to see them continue that on Sunday? Yeah,
well, I think running the football helped last week. Being able to avoid penalties for the most part, obviously still wasn't perfect, but that was better. And then it's just individual effort, individual plays. We saw Adam Troutman make a nice play, Russ make a nice play with his legs. And so when you're able to do those sorts of things, Samaje Perine pushing forward for extra yardage and getting in the end zone, when you're able to do those things, it helps you find success down there. And
definitely,
I think what the Broncos are looking for is to not have that be a one-off performance. And Sean Payton was asked earlier this week about the team's red zone success, and he kind of said, hold on, we haven't had red zone success. We had it last week, but generally we have not had as much of it. And so can the Broncos become more consistent down there. That'll be key, I think,
Yeah.
Especially on the road, right? It's one thing at home to kind of kick a couple field goals and be able to hang around and have the crowd help spur you to a win.
Yeah.
I think on the road, you've got to be efficient down there and score points when you can, especially if this game becomes some sort of a shootout or a higher scoring game because of what CJ Stroud and their offense can do. It could be a game where, hey, if you score touchdowns down there and they score field goals, that could be the difference. So that'll be an area every week to watch. And I do think the encouraging thing is this offense is still a work in progress, right? And we talked about that a lot last year in terms of, well, is it ever going to get better? This year it's been much better, but I think it's still not a finished product, right? And so we're 11 games into this, and I think you're going to continue to see Sean Payton, Russell Wilson, this offense grow, and hopefully red zone efficiency is a part of that. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah. Last one for you here, Eric. I know we've talked about this a few times over the past few weeks, but heading into this game, what would a win in Houston mean just for the playoff picture? Because we're getting down to the last couple weeks here.
Yeah. Final stretch, obviously, final third of the season. It's big. We've said that the last few weeks. And the exciting thing about when you win football games is it makes the next game that much bigger.
It's true.
Saw a stat today, if the Broncos win, their playoff odds jump up into 60-something%. And obviously with a loss, they fall down. Some people have said, this is like a playoff game because of the AFC playoff picture.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'd go quite that far. There's certainly a path for the Broncos still, even if you lose this football game. I think the bigger sense for me is how do you get, something out of this road trip? The Broncos historically have struggled a little bit during these 3-game road trips. Every team has trouble with them. They're just difficult.
They're hard, yeah.
And I think going out there and getting a win, one from a playoff perspective, it's really big, but I think it just starts the road trip off on the right foot, puts you in really good position. And so while a loss, I don't think disqualifies you or makes it impossible to make the playoffs. Certainly a win here over a team that's in the same position as you is probably going to be fighting for the same tiebreaker you are. It would be a massive step forward. And so I view it more as an opportunity rather than kind of like, oh no, this is what could happen if you lose.
Right.
I view it more as, here's what we could gain from getting a win this week.
Yeah, exciting stuff. We're looking forward to it.
It'll be a fun one.
It will be. I haven't been to Houston yet either, so.
Oh.
Yeah, first trip there for me.
Exciting.
It is exciting. Eric, appreciate you joining the show.
You got it, Sid.
Well, that's going to do it for today's episode of Broncos Now, Broncos Country. Thanks so much for tuning in. I'll meet you right back here on the Broncos Podcast Network and YouTube on Monday for a game recap.